Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Welcome today to another 10 round head-to-head watch boxing special. This isn't UFC here, by the way. We adhere to the Marquis of Queensberry rules, but we do fight until one watch lands a knockout blow on the other. And today it's two affordable chronographs. In the red corner is the Baltany military chronograph. I think technically they call this one the S205033. Chinese marketing at its finest. In the blue corner we have the Citizen Eco Drive AT0200-05E, Japanese marketing at its finest. I'll be judging these two watches in 10 different categories, including movement, crystal, value for money, brand power, etc, etc, and giving a score at the end. And I must say I was shocked by this one. Perhaps you'll be shocked too. Let's flip the camera and find out. Alright, let's get on with it and check out my state-of-the-art scoreboard here today. Look, nothing wrong with going back to basics, going old school occasionally with a bit of paper and a pen. So 10 different categories, but I always double weight 2 of them, and I always double weight the same 2. Movement, because it's a watch, the movement surely carries double weight to the other categories, and brand, because whether we like it or not, brand is still important, even at this ultra affordable segment of the market. And I must admit, I was genuinely shocked at the result today. I'll wait till we get to the result and then I'll try and kind of rationalize it, why this one worked out the way that it worked out. But it's very, very interesting, I promise you. All right, let's kick off with the first category. It's always the first category, movement double weighted. So the Citizen comes out of the gate strong with an 8, double weighted to 16. The Baltany doesn't do too badly for itself with a 7, double weighted to 14. The Citizen contains a Citizen in-house caliber H400 Eco Drive module. It says Eco Drive just under the brand name there. Eco Drives are fantastic to have, especially in watches like this and at this price. At this price point, I want quartz. At this price point, you probably want Eco Drive as well. Small second down there at the 6, a useless 24-hour indicator up there at the 130, and a 60-minute chrono timer. We also have a date complication down there at the 4. Now, it only gets an 8 because it's a single tick chronograph, not nearly as attractive as the Mecha Quartz that you're about to see on the Baltany, but this one, when fully charged, will give you 6 months of life. Now, there is an argument that you're going to have to replace the battery in this one at some point, but I have heard plenty of people talk about owning Eco Drives for 25 years or more, so yeah. Strong 8 out of 10 to get a movement like this in a watch at this price. But no complaints at all about the one that features in the Baltany. This is a Seiko Mecha Quartz VK61. So again, small second indicator at the 6 o'clock, 60-minute chrono timer at the 12. No date on this one, no useless 24-hour complication either. And when I start the chrono, you can see 5 ticks per second, a much, much smoother sweep. This one gives far more the impression that it's a mechanical watch than the Citizen does, which looks distinctly quartz because of that single tick. Seiko, notoriously reliable, that's why this one gets a 7 out of 10. Moving on to price, and price isn't really going to help us differentiate between these two today because the price of them is the same, so they both score 7 out of 10. These are the best prices that I could find here in Australia today for these two watches. 249 Aussie dollars for the Citizen, though I admit I paid less than that for this particular example in a sale, and $237 for the Baltany plus taxes equals $250. Again, you can probably get a sharper price for that one during a sale as well, but those were the best prices I could find today. They're both the same, they both get 7s. Moving on to build quality, and there is a noticeable difference between the two watches, and that is reflected in the scores. The Citizen only gets a 6, whereas the Baltany gets a really strong 9 out of 10. It's kind of hard to put your finger on it unless you are actually putting your finger on it, but the Citizen just doesn't feel all that nice. It feels a bit cheap, it feels a bit tinny. The standard of case finishing is okay, but yeah, nothing feels particularly great. The pushers aren't all that pleasant to operate. They're kind of, a little bit tinkly. Yeah, it just doesn't feel all that nice. It's a screw-on case back, but it's high polish. It's a real muck magnet. Yeah, 6 out of 10 really for this one. Whereas the Baltany feels in a different price bracket. Case finish is all bead blasted, so they're not putting a lot of attention to detail into chamfers, etc. But as a consequence, it looks really neat and tidy. It's a big, very usable crown. Noticeable improvement in the pushers. They feel much, much nicer. Perhaps that's as a consequence of the movement, but regardless, they do feel nicer. Case back is stainless steel again, it's screw on, it's sterile, but it just feels more solid. The whole watch just feels like it'll take a hit in a way that the Citizen doesn't. 9 out of 10. So 3 categories down then, and the Citizen is in the lead, but only just by a single point. Water resistance. Both watches have 100 meters of water resistance. You'd think therefore that they would get the same score, but they don't. The Baltany has taken the lead by getting an 8 out of 10, whereas the Citizen only gets a 6. Why, Jody? Well, the Citizen claims 100 meters of water resistance, screw-on stainless steel case back, but it's only a push-pull crown, not a screw-down crown, and those pushers are not screwed down either. Whereas the Baltany claims 100 meters of water resistance with a screw-down crown and with screw-down chrono pushers. Which of the two would you be more keen to get wet? Yes, me too. Hence why this one gets 2 points more. The next category is dial and hands, and you can see why I put these two in the same head-to-head, can't you? Not only are they within a couple of dollars of each other in terms of price, but they're very, very similar in looks overall. However, I reckon once again the Baltany edges it. 8 out of 10 compared to the Citizen 6. I mean, the Citizen looks okay, it's legible, it's functional, it's got that mid-century field aesthetic that both watches are so clearly going for here today. You can see the hands on the sub-registers as well because they're white against the black. Well, it's kind of grey, it's a kind of dark grey dial. Obviously those big numerals are printed on there in white, but they don't look particularly well printed. Everything's neat and crisp, but there's not too many layers of paint applied. There is a little bit of colour, but you can see it's kind of shiny where it says WR100 there. It's raised whereas nothing else is. It looks like it's an affordable watch. 6 out of 10. Whereas once again, the Baltany looks more expensive. It's a really nice deep black dial. The colour is better, there's clearly more layers gone on those large Arabic numerals, plus they've gone for a kind of faux-teener look with those triangles, and with the hands are nicer, they're more complex, they've got syringe tips. Overall, it's definitely worth a couple of extra points over the Citizen. You're going to be looking at this for many years to come. You want to like what you see. I much prefer the Baltany. So we are exactly halfway, and the Baltany's beginning to creep ahead, and it continues that creep by gaining 1 extra point over the Citizen when it comes to Lume. And here is the Lume. Both watches look pretty bright initially, particularly the hands on the Citizen. They use their own proprietary Natu-Light Lume, whereas the Baltany uses a mixture of BGW9 on the numerals and C3 old radium style on those triangles and on the hands. Definitely more complex Lume on the Baltany, but when I turn the speed up on these and as we get closer to the end of the 20 minutes, you can see that the decision by Baltany to go with C3 old radium begins to hurt them a little bit. It's never quite as bright as other grades of Lume, whereas at the end, the hands on the Citizen are still glowing brightly, brighter than the hands on the Baltany. Overall, I'm still going to give it to the Baltany, but it would have been a more comprehensive victory if they had used a different type of Lume on the hands. I think this is the first time I've ever done one of these where we had band and brand both on the list. Citizen gets a couple of points back, 7 out of 10, rather than the Baltany's very average 5. And that's because the strap on this is pretty decent for the money. I think this canvas, particularly in this drab colour, is spot on for this type of watch. Look at those. Stainless steel reinforcements on all of the holes. It's leather backed as well. It's that kind of canvas and calf style. 2 big retainers and a nice piece of hardware. No Citizen branding on the hardware, but it is Citizen made in China on the underside there. Yeah, this looks like it's going to take a beating. It looks like it's going to last for ages. You don't have to then spend more money replacing the band on your Citizen. Decent score, 7 out of 10. Whereas the Baltany comes with a pretty basic NATO. In its defence, the stitching looks reasonable and the hardware is also bead blasted to match the case finish, but it's unbranded, it's fairly generic. They do another couple of options nowadays with the Baltany, but this is the one I got when I paid for it. I can't really, in all honesty, give it more than 5 out of 10. Now, I don't often talk about warranty in these head-to-heads, but I thought it was thoroughly appropriate today in light of the Citizen having the best warranty in the business, hence a 10 to the Baltany 6. I bought my Citizen from a local AD here in Australia, and if you buy from a local AD, you get 5 years. That is incredible. That is best in class for an affordable watch. And if you're going to be running one of these long term, yeah, that gives you a heap of confidence in your product. Now, you do get a 2-year warranty with the Baltany, but chances are you're buying it from AliExpress or at least from overseas. It's not going to be nearly as easy to sort out a warranty claim in that case, so I can only give it 6 out of 10. If you've watched a few of these, you know I don't give out 10s lightly. But 5-year warranty on a budget watch, that's worth a 10. However, the Baltany comes thumping back with a 10 of its own. The glass is exceptional, 10. Citizen, not so much with a 5. The Citizen comes with a piece of bog basic, flat, mineral crystal. Now that will attract scratches, it will attract scuffs if you're not super careful with your watch, and let's face it, who wants to be super careful with your watch? It's kind of average for the price, but it gets an average score 5 out of 10. Whereas the Baltany gets a perfect 10. Look at the clarity of that sapphire. Is it even there? This is the best piece of glass that I've seen on a watch costing under $300. It's one of the top 10 pieces of glass I have ever seen on a watch, and that includes Omega Aquaterra, Grand Seiko, Citizen, Casio, Oceanus, etc. Those are the other members of the top 10. This is outstanding considering it costs 250 Aussie. Where is the... Oh, there it is. You can just about see it. It's an amazing piece of crystal that has to be seen to be believed. 10 out of 10. We've talked band, let's talk brand. The other double-weighted category always has been and always will be. This one's fairly obvious, isn't it? Citizen, such a strong budget brand to have on your wrist, 8 out of 10 doubled to 16. Baltany, yeah, doesn't nearly have the same cachet, 6 doubled to 12. Citizen, one of the big Japanese powerhouse brands. They've been making watches for well over 100 years. They make hundreds of different watches. They are well regarded, they are well respected, and with good reason. Perhaps only Seiko would score a 9 and something like Tissot a 10. That's why I've given them an 8. It's still a really good score. Whereas Baltany gets a 6 because they are a total newcomer. I think they've developed a little bit of cachet for themselves over the last few years in this affordable realm, but they don't have anything like the catalogue, and quite a lot of their catalogue seems to be borrowed from other brands, if you see what I mean. I reckon you'll still get a bit of a nod from people who know about this brand and particularly this watch, but nothing like the same cachet as Citizen, 6 out of 10 only. So then, where does that leave us? We've had some big scores on either side of the table and also some pretty poor scores on either side of the table, and crucially, the Citizen has done well in those double-weighted categories. Drum roll, please! Would you look at that? 1 point in it. 85 out of 120, so 71% for the Citizen. 86 out of 120, so 72% for the Baltany. I did not think it was going to be that close. Frankly, I thought the Baltany was going to wipe the floor with the Citizen. So why hasn't that happened? Well, I always try and include categories here that highlight the strengths and the weaknesses of both of the respective watches on the table. That's why I included warranty here, because it would have been remiss of me not to include the Citizen's fantastic 5-year industry standard setting warranty. Likewise, the crystal is just outrageously good on the Baltany, and the scores reflect that. But the key to the Citizen getting so close today, I think, was these double-weighted categories. Eco-drive and then the strength of its brand. I don't think there's a point between these two today. I think there is a gulf between these two today. I bought this in 2022. It was one of the best 5 watches of the year. I included it in my top 5 list. It's a permanent part of my collection. I bought this a couple of months ago. I'll be selling it later on this afternoon. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this one. I would highly recommend that one. But it just goes to show what can happen when you do try and kind of balance out the relative strengths and weaknesses based on the scores. For me, I'll take a punt with the warranty, I'm alright with that. Maybe I see a little bit more value in Baltany as a brand than most, and I have got rid of this NATO strap. I wear it on a Barton Elite silicone, so that goes from a 5 to a 10 already. The rest of the category so strong here. The Baltany is the winner for me, even though it isn't reflected that way by the scores today. So those are my scores, obviously including all of my inherent subjectivity. Who's your winner today? Do you own one of these two watches? Which one of these two watches do you own? And what do you think about my scoring system? I look forward to reading your comments, and frankly, I look forward to the next head-to-head 10-round watch boxing special. They're always so much fun to make. If you think they're fun to watch, why not watch another one either here or here? Thanks for making it all the way to the end. I'll see you again in the next one.